ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 15th edition of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Colin Dowe, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you this evening. As I start every week, thank you so very much for joining us, whether you're looking at us on GBN Television, listening on GBN Radio, or logged on to any of our social media platforms. You're the ones that make this program happen. You're the reason why we do this program, so thank you very much for joining us. This evening is going to be a potpourri, as it were. So we're going to be talking about all things that happened in 2025 that are of interest to us. And yes, I have a number of esteemed guests. I know that they have views, some of them strong views on various aspects of Grenadian society. So we'll have them weigh in on 2025 and some projections for 2026. I'll start from my immediate left deliberately. My brother, Arley Gill, welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me again. Is that the last program? Is this the last program for the year?
It is the last program for the year.
So that means you plan to work next week?
That means I plan to do other things next week.
Thanks for having me once again on your program.
All right. Next to him is Miss Brenda Baptiste. Sister Brenda.
Hey, Colin. It's nice to be here. Season's greetings to everyone. Christmas is next Thursday. And, thanks for inviting me to your party since it's your last show for the year.
Definitely. And another brother of mine, Allie.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for being here. I mean, the party things sound good. I don't know, I ain't going to party for the year yet. So happy to be part if you invite me.
When you're now retired, you have less parties to go to. You can have had your own party if you're still engaged in the, in the business world.
Well, that is true too, but I'll take up yours.
Okay. And we do have Dr. Justin Pierre joining us online. Justin, you can't join our party because you're not here. So you'll have to make do in Toronto.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. To all the guests, thank you very much for being in your presence. And Mr. Dowe, thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. And each of you, just do a round robin as it were, as we reflect on 2025. Ali, let me just start off with you, if I may. What is the single most memorable thing for you? Thinking of Grenada 2025?
That's a fairly hard question, actually. But I think that this year, for the first time, Emancipation Day, the 1st of August being a holiday, is to me what stands out the most, because I believe it's the right thing to do. And after years of lobbying, advocating for Emancipation Day to be August 1st, and it was realized this year, I believe I would have to, if I had to single out one thing in 2025 that brought a bit of cheer, it would have to be the fact that August 1st, Emancipation Day, that was a good moment for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. Brenda?
I have two, actually, and the same as Allie.
Ladies' prerogative, I asked for one. That's all right.
Emancipation, the 1st of August, Emancipation Day, that was a big thing for me. That felt really, really good. And the next thing for me would have been the Oath of Allegiance. Swearing allegiance to Grenada instead of an external body. That felt good. That felt like, almost like we had reclaimed our Grenadianism, to use my friend's term here. It felt really, really good. And even in the political discourse, really, they agreed. I think it was just some debate on means, the way it was done. Maybe it should have been more, consultation and all that kind of thing. I guess just to get buy-in and to make more Grenadians feel like I did. But I felt really, really good about those.
Okay, Chris?
Well, I suppose I'm going to be the odd one out, because to me, the thing that stood the most was the political change and the climate in the political arena. What happened with NNP, Peter David, now we have a new party. To me, I see the political landscape and environment having an interest in 2026, 2027, so that stood out for me.
Okay, all right. Justin?
Yes. Thank you very much. Well, I am going on the side of Mr. Allie. Okay, I believe that one of the most interesting event for me this year is the oath of allegiance. I think that the second is the whole political dynamics. And now we have 3 political or 4 political parties vying for competition, and the third is the Emancipation Day.
Okay. All right. Let me ask. I mean, really and truly, what is... the political arena for me stood out. The other 2 didn't carry as much importance. And it didn't carry as much importance for me, and I'd certainly like you to respond, because it's almost, I will challenge saying, was a system of mamagism. In other words, we move from first Monday of August to the 1st of August, but no real change in what emancipation means. And unless or until we do that, it doesn't matter, you can celebrate it on the 25th of December. It still has no meaning, is my issue.
I fundamentally and strongly disagree with you, because I believe it will be a process, in the sense that we now have to educate, we now have to agitate and so on, so that one would expect that through the schools and so on, to begin with, that there needs to be some sort of a...
But let me interrupt you. Who will teach? Because we never grew up... The thing is, there was and ought to have been a commemoration of Emancipation Day, regardless of the date was being celebrated.
Yes.
Why do we have confidence that a change of date will bring about a change of attitude? And who is expected to bring this shift? Would it be the same ones that have not for the last 40 or 45 years even known that the first Monday of August was Emancipation Day?
Well, there must be an awakening. And the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Culture and the government in it has to take the lead. And they can, of course, call upon me, call upon the Reparations Committee and to create allies and so on in creating that lead. But the fact that we have the 1st of August is a big thing, in that persons stand up and take notice. And they're saying, well, they thought that, it was for Rainbow City Festival and it was for Karaoke Regatta and so on. So you see, we need to have this incremental shifting of the cultural space and the historical space as we continue in a serious way to right the wrongs of history. And we can't simply continue to practice the wrong things that we have been doing because we fear that nothing has changed. No, I think we start somewhere. Frankly, I would have loved to see, since the 50th anniversary celebrations, the renaming of streets and schools and so on to reflect Grenadianism, right, that we have been championing for so long. The past administration said they agreed with the suggestion and would move to have it in place. This particular government said that they agree and they would move, but nothing has happened. So in 2024, when we have 50 years and nothing happened in the 51st year. So it's something that we need to put on the table. And that will create, I am of the considered view, the core of what will propel national development and transformation is national consciousness.
Correct.
Right? That is what will inspire Grenadians to remain and to serve, and to eat local and to eat what you grow and so on, a level of national consciousness. And I believe these are the things that will create the necessary trappings of that consciousness. The Emancipation Day, the renaming of streets and schools and so on after outstanding Grenadians and so on, and outstanding Caribbean people as well, that has contributed seriously to what is now referred to as our Caribbean civilization.
Brenda, are you saying that I'm impatient? Because again, like the oath of allegiance, we swear to Grenada, we still have a Governor General. We're not moving towards republicanism. We're not having that conversation. We're not promoting Grenadianism. So we have tokenism. And some of us probably would be offended by the tokenism. If we're going to do something, let's do it, would be with the argument coming from some quarters.
Well, absolutely. I think a lot of these changes that we're going to make, it's an ethos. the people have to feel it. So yes, we have the Ministry of Education, we have the Ministry of Culture, we have the Cultural Foundation, we have parish committees. How are we going to empower these groups? How are we going to make the necessary changes there to ensure that we live, feel, and breathe emancipation? Why does my generation, except you, feel excited that the date changed? It's because of the time we came from. We were taught civics, we did things, we were brought everywhere. We were taught, you know, the ballet dancing, all these things. We went to historical sites, we did stories and all of that. So these are the things, these are the trappings, these are the things that have to be woven.
And maybe it is a case that not being excited by it, but certainly understand the importance. It's tired of mamagism. So maybe I am exhibited more impatience than you are, because I want real change. I embrace Grenadianism and hence would want to see movement, and tokenism I'm no longer tolerant of, can be the argument.
I agree with that, and that goes for various things we do. We say a lot of things, but we don't have the lived experience. We talk about unity, are we unified? So, you know, it really starts with us, and we have to find some change agents and some modalities and doing things differently. You know, that's it. And I think a lot of it will start in strong communities, at schools, and then to these other organizations.
I will still go back to who in the school will take the lead. Is it the one that has been ignorant, has not been taught, it's not part of our culture? I mean, that is the challenge. The how to is really my issue. But Chris, you have been one taking oaths of allegiance because you have served in the Senate for quite some time. So if we reappoint you, your oath has changed. What are your feelings on this?
I supported the change of the oath of allegiance. I think it is time for us to start to make the incremental move to, you know, more national pride, more Grenadianism, as Allie has announced. I have no difficulty with those things, because I think as a nation of people, we don't appreciate our history at all, where we have come from, and hopefully what we have learned so we could change where we want to go. I am, with the Emancipation Day moving to the 1st of August, you know, we still have not addressed the Caracou situation and what is going to happen with the regatta and that holiday being, and how they're going to make the shift, which is an important event for Caracouans. So we still have some work there to do, apart from the education part, but the practicality of the date and the movement. But I have no difficulty with the date.
And if I may just, I know I could butt into Chris and he wouldn't get annoyed, but I have said repeatedly as well that I think that the 1st August should remain as a holiday. Not
Monday in August.
The first Monday in August as well, to facilitate the festivals in August.
But are we not?
And that would not.
Here. No, I'm going.
No.
And that's what I want you to address. Butt heads between our heritage and our cultural heritage and our historical heritage, because that's a tension.
That's a tension.
Yeah.
And both and it's my respectful view that there is space for both, because you recall many years ago, both August Monday and Tuesday used to be holidays until we had this famous cricket match many years ago, and the Tuesday was taken back. So that really and truly we owe the holiday. But it's not a campaign for more and more holidays. It's just that the Caracou Regatta, which is a significant part of our cultural heritage and a significant part also of the Caracou economy, and the festivals in August space from Caracou Regatta, Rainbow City, which of course is not as it used to be, climaxing in Carnival.
What if you're accused of wanting to eat your cake and have it? Because the holiday was not about Caracou Regatta. It was a holiday for emancipation, that the regatta came into that space like Rainbow City came into that space.
But over the years, post-independence, that space was latched onto by the regatta and the Rainbow City Festival, and we created something Grenadian with it, which I believe should be maintained. But I don't. At the same time, we needed to rediscover that emancipation significance, because I always argue that without emancipation, how could you have got independence? Right. You see the point? Yes. So that Emancipation Day, in my respectful view, is as significant as Independence Day, if not more significant, because of the where we came from and our history and so on. So to me, there is space for both. But what we need to have is this kind of robust debates about what we need to do. We need to have that conversation about the holidays and so on. And yeah.
Justin, what fundamentally do we need to do in order for us to really move towards emancipating ourselves from this mental slavery? So I'm going now in terms of structural changes. So we get August 1st, we get change of oath of allegiance. How can we have this mass movement of Grenadians towards embracing things Grenadian and come through with that patriotism and commitment that will be manifested in national development, etc.?
Well, that's a very good question, and to support what Mr. Allie said, first of all, we have to. Every culture coming from slavery has its unique identity. As the Europeans, we may have the Christmas holiday. We as people, we have our identity as emancipation. August 1st, the greatest day in the global South, the greatest day for freed slaves. And as a result, we have to own this day. So, regardless of what we say, August the 1st should be a national holiday, but it also should tie in with the cultural, with our cultural event. So if we have, for example, and in terms of their patience, we say on average to create change in a country, it takes at least 10 years, 2 election cycles. So what we're asking is that preceding government, this government and the other government to start marketing what we want, marketing our culture, marketing all of the historical and cultural event surrounding August the 1st. And what also, this should be taught as, let's say, for example, in the Barbados case, this should be taught in schools, from the primary, secondary school. All of these things should be trappings of us knowing us, who we are as a people, where we came from, and we should also support our local heroes. They are persons who have been there and done the hard work. And if we do that, I think that what will happen is that gradually more and more people will get to recognize Emancipation Day as August the 1st and make provisions for it. I just wanted to say one small example. After World War II, when Japan got decimated in the World War, Japan made a decision that every student, someone graduating from university must have passed calculus as a subject. Initially, first couple of years, very few people pass. But now almost every student in Japan has some sort of can pass calculus. And we could do that in our country if we have the commitment from our leaders and the commitment from the people. I think that these things can be achieved.
What I'm hearing here, Chris, is one of continuity. And I hate hearing people saying this government and that government. Government is continuous. One government we have different administrations, but we ought to be speaking and thinking as one government. And maybe we can start realizing some of these shifts if it's one government, despite the different administrations, because then it will be one vision for Grenada. But you mentioned, Chris, in terms of your own outlook, the change in party politics, and I want to get into that a little bit. How would you describe the state of party politics in general? But are we super hyper? I mean, we are a year and a half away constitutionally from elections, but anybody would believe that we are coming right after St. Lucia, so just share in terms of your own impressions of party politics.
Just to go back on your first point on continuum, I think, hence the reason we did the 2035 plan and we have Project 75, right. As announced by the current Prime Minister, to get all of us to sing from the same hymn sheet. Right. And if we were to follow that, I think it would be a start to not breaking from government to government or from change to change on the political side. Outside of that, though, and based on your question, I believe our politics have changed significantly. When you look at St. Vincent and St. Lucia, when you look at Grenada's political climate, the first thing that is very evident is the amount of women in our politics and who hold parliamentary positions and so on, compared to those two countries I'm saying. That is a good thing, I think. We have traditionally been a two-party state in recent times, NNP, NDC. We used to have GNP and GLP in those days, and you could argue that there were times when the formula changed to a three-party kind of state, and then we merge and we go back to two. Right. But I think in this time with DPM, NDC, and NNP, it's going to be interesting if the three parties continue, and there are others that has come up as we come closer to election, and what the independents as well. But the three main parties and the base that they're going after, what is going to happen? And I did an interview with Honorable Peter David, and he said, Chris, it will be interesting if we had 5-5-5. And how will we deal with that situation?
I believe former Senator Allie Gill might get a call at that one.
So I think it creates a lot of interest going forward in how it pans out and who has the strength to keep it.
I'm with you, and I'm going to come back to that point, and maybe, being the controversial one tonight. I heard you mention the number of female parliamentarians that we have in Grenada, and that is something that has been lauded. But I'll challenge you to say, do our female parliamentarians have any power? I mean, we have a leader of opposition that is female, but everybody's saying that, Doc is still a puppet master. People are making those comments. So, yes, we have female bodies in Parliament, but does real power lie behind any of our female parliamentarians?
Well, let me answer it this way. I think our women bring into leadership role an eye for detail that we men don't have. And when you look at the contribution and senators who are female and even parliamentarians in the lower house, I think their contribution to the debate and the general discourse of our nationalism and what happens on the national side of things has been excellent, in my view, sitting with them.
So there's no disrespect to the intellect.
No.
I'm asking about power and real power.
Well, right, and that could only happen over a transition period of time. If let's take NNP for example, if Dr. Mitchell has appointed a leader of opposition as female, and certain adjustments internally happen with the party, then there may be that power transition that is going to be there. But the person and the personality that is in the position also have to apply themselves to.
Do you believe Doc's standing down?
Yes, he said so. He said this.
That was my question.
Yeah. I think based on his comment, he said this was his last budget.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
do you believe Doc standing down?
Yes, I think he's standing down.
He's standing down.
Yeah, and that will be good for the party. Yes.
Whether he has good for the party is what you believe.
Correct. And
standing down.
If I believe he's standing down, yeah, I do.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Brenda, do you believe Doc will be standing down? And what does that mean for the NNP moving forward?
Today is December 15th. It was a year ago on this date that NNP changed its political leader. And so we have had a year to assess and see what's happening. To be quite honest with you, I expected by now we probably should have turned the corner on a couple things. It's one of our strongest institutions, no doubt about it. 40 years and counting, plus all the political accolades in terms of, the wins they've had and so. Your question, if Doc is standing down, I had question marks on that before, but when I looked and listened to him last week in the Parliament, I felt it. There was something about how it was a magnanimous speech at the end. It really, really was. Even a little tearjerker, and I really feel it. It's probably hard after doing this for so long to just, let it go. But I think it's time for the Honorable Emlyn Pierre to be seen, heard, and felt as a leader.
It is time for the
perception we have of him being the puppet master. Where does that perception come from? It must be addressed. So everything we can say, but she's we have to see it and we have to feel it.
Seen, heard, and feel,
they're taking their time. I don't know.
After dominating a political organization for so long, after being the longest serving prime minister in the country, and being the dominant political figure, frankly, post-revolution, once Dr. Mitchell is in and around the leadership role of a new national party, there will be that perception of puppet leader. I begin with that. So that for Honorable Emlyn Pierre to be seen and felt that way as the leader, one will have to appreciate that she needs some space. That is my respectful view. That's my respectful analysis of it. I think Honorable Dr. Mitchell, well, you have two now, Dr. Keith Mitchell, is standing down. I think he has said so more than once. And in the budget presentation, I'm not sure if we're going to have a by-election, because if the government had put two budgets in 1 year, you never know, by August next year we might have another budget. So I don't want to be so I understand where Dr. Mitchell was coming from, but I was saying to myself quietly, hold on, Doc. We don't know when we'll get to the next budget. Just chill. So I think he's going that if he had second thoughts about stepping down, I think after he looked up the Grenadines, after his companion,
in politics as well.
In time, both Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Mitchell has been around, and a friend said to me, since primary school, they have been hearing, when you ask a question, a quiz, who's the Prime Minister at Vincent, and who's the Prime Minister at Grenada, you couldn't get that wrong. You know what I mean? So they have been around, and they have led for a generation. So really and truly, it will be my respectful view for they to move on as elder statesmen. And frankly, I would, Dr. Gonzalez don't have a choice. He's the only man. Sole voice. He has to be leader of the opposition and so on. But I want to take up Dr. Mitchell on the offer of being the elder statesman. I believe now is the time he must be above party politics. We must see him as that, beyond NNP, beyond NDC. That to me would be, listen, you don't hear about Frondell Stewart in Barbados. My good friend, former Prime Minister of Antigua, Mr. Baldwin Spencer. Now and then he might make a statement and so on. But we need these elder statesmen and so on. P.J. Patterson comes to mind, and Doc has always promised to write his memoirs and so on, so that so that we need these elder statesmen and so on. When they speak on national issue, the nation must take note, and that is what I would want to. I can't. That's not my vision, but that's what I want to see elevate to, rather than he has given and received a lot of political blows. maybe now, we can elevate. And having said that, I believe we have to find dignified ways of honoring Dr. Mitchell's contribution, and I believe that it will be the big thing, the good thing to do for this government to do it.
Okay.
You see the point? I believe that sometimes in the cut and trust.
But he needs to move on.
Yes.
In order for that to happen.
Fair enough. Yes. But I would even be so magnanimous to say, even without him moving on, he has done enough to deserve that sort of honor. That sort of honor. And that is where I believe the national politics must go. And I'm not satisfied that I'm seeing that maturity in our politics. I'm not satisfied that I'm seeing that big manism in the politics. It seems as though, my brother, in many respects, you follow the social media hustlings and so on, that is, the disparaged persons, intellectuals and so on, how can you go after so we have to, and the lead has to take it. Yeah. It's all well and good to say party supporters doing that. Yes, party supporters are doing that, and you're benefiting. But when would you rise?
I want to go to Justin. And Justin, we saw the launch of DPM recently. And just from your observations, what would that mean for the political landscape in Grenada?
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I believe that the launch of the DPM is very significant. I believe that it can be a pillar in the Grenadian politics because of who the person is, Senator David, Minister David is, but how it was launched. I believe that it was launched with presence, with prestige. It was launched as a bona fide party, and you also have to give him the respect to be the only person to establish a political party in over 20 years. So I mean he has done it. So that is good. I believe that, in fact, based on our research, we believe that he can be a player. He most likely will be the kingmaker in the next election, based on our research. However, I just want to revert back to, in terms of the changes with Dr. Mitchell and Miss Emmeline Pierre. I believe that this is the way out for Dr. Pierre. Dr. Mitchell. I believe that he will resign. But my only regret is maybe the way he's doing it. I would have preferred, because change is normally violent. Not in a negative sense, but what I would have liked to see Senator Miss Emmeline Pierre be more in charge and more robust over the last 12 months. Yes, and so the reason why I would have liked to see that, because from the narrative, just from social media, most people are saying that even though she's a political leader, he is still in charge. So I wanted her to be more. Also, I also want to say that the idea of women in politics. Women in politics is very important, because women are still the majority of the voters. Women still make a lot of the decision, especially in NNP. Because from our research, there is a block, let's say around 15,000, voters, women voters, who consistently, propel their party. And from our research, if a decision is made between a male, that's equally, of course, between a male and a female leader, most likely the electorate will elect a female leader.
Let me challenge Justin, if I may. Two things on here. One, as you mentioned, Dr. Mitchell stepped aside or gave up political leadership of the party a year ago, but took on chairman of the party.
Yes.
So he did not let go, one can argue.
No.
He didn't step away from the executive. And I think that's the point that you're making, and others have made in giving Ms. Pierre the space to serve as leader. The other thing I just want to have you contemplate is if culturally women have supported women. And we may ask the women among us, but you know, when it comes to leadership roles, if we say two individuals are equal, despite the fact that the majority of the electorate would be female, have we seen women stepping forward and supporting women as opposed to supporting the male figure?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And from data, from the data and from their research, women tend to give women the most challenge. So we even though on the survey they will say, hey, we're supporting women. It is time for women to take chance. However, we see that women are very competitive, and this is something that we have to deal with. And I remember the first time I ever met Miss Emmeline Pierre when we conducted the survey, because she was one of the political leader herself, Peter David and the NNP, and someone by the name of Akima Lambert Paul. So I interviewed all of them, So women are still the kingmaker or the female maker in elections, and so that's why. So we should not discredit a female leader, because the female leader still has a lot of power, and if we now, for example, we can see from Trinidad. So if there is an opportunity, most of the population would elect a political leader who is female.
Can I just make a clarification here, just for my own understanding? Women are the kingmakers, and I think we all are the leaders, the leader makers. Let me just go gender neutral, and we can agree on that because they make up the majority of the electorate. When it comes to who they elect, because that's, I think, is the point that we're discussing. When we come to who they elect, are they looking for a male or a male figure? Because as you mentioned, Trinidad, Prime Minister of Trinidad, is a strong woman. The Prime Minister of Barbados is a very strong woman. So when we see that, are we looking also for the personification probably of the male dominant figure? And I'm just throwing that out for your contemplation.
And this is a very important point, and this is why if I had to advise, let's say, the leader of the opposition, Ms. Emmeline Pierre, I would have wanted her to be more, quote unquote, violent in terms of taking over the leadership. You go there, you be strong, take over the leadership, make decisions that might be contrary to what Prime Minister, what the opposition, what Dr. Keith Mitchell may say. So take some strong decisions. For example, the issue with the vehicles. Prime Minister may say, Dr. Keith may say yes, but if I was in Ms. Emmeline Pierre's position, I would have said yes. I want the vehicle and take things like that. So that she can make a mark on herself. Because if you do that as a leader, what will happen as a female leader? More women will gravitate towards you. Same thing as Mia Motley. Same thing as.
Thank you, Justin. So we'll give the lady the last word. So go ahead, Arley, because the lady will have the last word on this topic.
Well, we're talking woman power. So no, I think that with the greatest respect, you see, our analysis on Ms. Emmeline Pierre's leadership would not be complete if we do not access the way in which she became leader of the party to begin with, which I think can undermine her in terms of her legitimacy, because we all know the facts, right? And it is not fair for us to hide it under the carpet anyways, that would Ms. Emmeline Pierre be the leader of a new national party if Peter David was given a fair chance? We must ask ourselves that question, because we know that Mr. David was not the favorite of Dr. Mitchell to succeed him. We saw what transpired. He was basically, pushed out of the party and so on and so forth. And it was an ugly scene, an ugly political scene, the way he was treated, And I think in some respects that potentially can hurt Mr. Pierre's legitimacy, because persons will say, well, you didn't really fight for it, it was handed to you. So in some respect, picking up from what Justin was making the point, it gives her now, she now will have to assert herself more, because it's not like she went on the convention floor in an open and free and fair election battle. And that raises the issue too of democracy within our political parties. Can we speak of democracy? So that we wait for elections and in national elections where political parties vie for the leadership of the country. But if the political parties themselves are not democratic, then what is it that you're speaking about with regards to democracy? So it raises the fundamental questions of democracy.
All right.
Yeah?
Brenda?
Dr. Pierre was talking about her asserting herself and taking over violently, theoretical violence. Mm-hmm. First of all, that's not her personality. And I mean, we seem to forget that this is a young woman who came to politics in her young age, and how she moved the youth movement in Grenada. So therein we saw the leadership. I don't think her as a leader, her leadership qualities is in question. Oftentimes when you ask people, they would say things like, whatever, personal or so. But that's not in question. She seems to be more of the strategist. And we have to remember as well, we are on the outside looking in. And she's in a party where Dr. Mitchell is revered, probably almost looked at like, the father of the party. And yes, she's a leader now, but he's still there as a chairman. He's still expressing interest for, who knows, she's probably still sounding off on him for some of the things she have in her mind. So I think, there may be a lot of that going on. When you're ready to cut somebody's throat, you have to be sure that your knife is sharpened and you could win the battle ahead.
Thank you very much for that.
Woman, we are very good at that. That's all I'm going to say.
That noted.
Allie, I hope you know that.
Viewers and listeners, it's time for a commercial break because we have to calm things down. We'll be right back.
This holiday season, let the Monica Benoit Wonderland of Lights lead the way to Christmas at the Point. Starting November 30th, the Quarantine Point Recreational Park transforms into a glowing wonderland with dazzling light displays that are the true showstoppers of the season. Take a magical tuk-tuk tunnel ride through twinkling arches. Explore Santa's grotto, cozy up with a picnic blanket under the stars, and savor delicious eats from local vendors. Entry is just $5 for walk-ins, $10 per carload, and $20 for premium carload parking. Plus, grab a cozy picnic blanket for only $40 and enjoy the season in style. Special pricing applies for New Year's Eve. Visit our Instagram or Facebook pages at Rotary Club of Grenada Events for more details. It's holiday fun for the entire family every night from 5 p.m. till midnight, and it all supports the charitable work of the Rotary Club of Grenada. Christmas at the Point. When the sun sets, the wonder begins. Mark your calendars. It all begins November 30th.
This year, make colorful Christmas memories with Berger. Get 30% off select 1 and 5 gallon purchases. Each purchase over $300 gives you a chance to win one of 3 cash prizes every month. October $2,000, November $3,000, December $5,000. Drop your entries in the specially marked boxes in store and enter as many times as you like. Promotion ends December 20th. Berger Paints for lasting beauty and protection.
Megaforce Promotions, in proud collaboration with Ariza Credit Union and GBN, presents Grenada's biggest flea market at Monroe's Plainfield, Saturday 20th and Sunday 21st December, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. Shop unbeatable deals on bed and curtain sets, appliances, household items, electrical and plumbing supplies, toys, Christmas decorations, clothing and shoes, perfumes and colognes, wines and drinks, and just about everything else. Plus a kids area, live entertainment, food and drink stalls. Want to be a vendor? Call 440-4646 to book your spot before they're all gone. Admission $5. 2 full days of deals and more deals. Shopping, fun and savings. Monroe's Plainfield Flea Market. Don't miss it.
Spare your pocket, spare the earth. Always at when left, you come first. Save energy, save a time. We choose your wattage and we choose your time. When you use appliances, make sure you buy energy efficient every time. Spare your pocket, spare the earth. Always at when left, you come first. Spare your pocket, spare the earth. Always at when left, you come first.
Viewers and listeners, we're just looking at Grenada and recapping 2025, and good discussions ongoing, and we're going to shift a little bit to our economic drivers. And Krista, allow me to start with you. And what were, in your opinion, the sustainable economic drivers in 2025? And I deliberately put in the word sustainable.
I was about to say you do that at spite. Correct. But let's start with what has happened in 2025. The economy is seriously driven by construction, tourism as the second, and services. I think that's where we are in terms of the 3 main leading sectors. Agriculture and so on is playing the least contribution, and manufacturing is about stable. Mm-hmm. So those are the main economic drivers. But sustainability is related to the productive sectors. Right. And how many productive sectors in that list have I listed? There's only one. Mm-hmm. Agriculture and fisheries, mm-hmm. and manufacturing to some extent. So when construction projects finish, the issue is, what do we turn to? Right. And how do we do it? And if we were to extend that deeper, the issue becomes, if the world, as we see now, the environment is changing so fast, one of the major concerns we must have is food security. Mm-hmm. And where are we placing that in the level of importance in the sectors and in the general strategic move of the country in budgets to come and down the road? Budget 2026 certainly didn't give it, in my view, the level of importance. They talk about the blue economy, yes, and fisheries, and what is going to happen there, which is a good thing, mm-hmm. actually separating fisheries and the blue economy from agriculture. Right. In that sense, so it gives it a certain level of prominence of what we need to consider there. So that could be termed some productive sector in its own right. The creative arts and I think we call it the orange sector, economy. Mm-hmm. Again, that is services, and that is something that could change overnight. So Traditionally in economics, what we describe as productive economies and sectors is sectors that you could have people work, produce, and build.
Right. So have we seen any investment? So there's a construction boom, but are we seeing the construction of productive areas where I'm going? So not just services, but rather factories that would lead to permanent jobs. And I think that's why I deliberately put in the word sustainability. Are we there yet, or is that still down the road?
It's down the road, because look at the history of agro-processing in the country. Agro-processing has failed across the country in many ways. We have the failure to some degree now of chocolate production from Cocoa Association. One factory probably shut down and the other one going. Oil distribution under Nutmeg Association never took off as it ought to. Agro-processing. Then all the juice companies that came up have all failed for various reasons. And so there is a serious issue with how we manage and deal with that. The small and micro industries, the pepper sauce people, the Moses Essence, the La Grenade industries continue to survive and continue to do well. So they obviously have some sort of formula we need to look at. But when we try to expand that in a certain way and grow the business, then we see the issue of the management and what is happening. And I think we need to change the culture in that we think if for example, we get an order for a container of any one of these products across these companies, we taking us 3 to 6 months to produce it.
That or we stop answer the calls.
Oh, we stop answer the call because we just don't have the capacity. And the biggest elephant in the room is capacity from a human resource point of view, because we don't have people who want to work at a pace and scale that could give us.
Or do we? Is it that so we have a skills gap, and I think that is known. But do we have the volume as well? Because we have a small population, and in going where I thought you were going, should we be selling Moses Essence or the La Grenade syrups, or should we be selling the intellectual property for Moses Essence,
and
the La Grenade?
I articulated this, Colin, that when we talk about connectivity to Africa and we have the Chinese come with their delegations and so on, the conversation has to change. The conversation has to be, how can we partner with a company in your country? You have 1 billion plus people in China. How could we partner with somebody that have the human resource, sell you the intellectual property, you have access to the raw materials, produce it, and give me royalties and so on. So I may move from $1 million company or $10 million, $50 million company if we do that partnership and we structure it right. And small micro countries like ourselves, for us to approach international markets, that has to be the change in the formula. It cannot be, guys, supply me a container every 3 months. We just don't have the capacity. We don't even have the physical space.
Correct.
To do
Brenda?
About containers, I think there's some bright spots. As he mentioned, containers. Somebody asked, we can't, because last week we opened that consulate in Guyana. And I think part of that engagement would probably be useful for people like us. And I was looking at DM the PM on Tuesday, and Prime Minister Mitchell was saying that the wet wipes company, because of that engagement with Guyana, she has just sent a container of wet wipes to Georgetown. So those are the things. Another thing that was really, really, good for, looking at sustainability and all of that was the hosting of the Afro-Caribbean conference here this year. I think those things will really be big for us.
The question, what I'm hearing, I'm not, potential is potential. Right, but we need to move from potential energy to kinetic energy.
Sustainability.
I'm in the room with an engineer now.
Sustainability down the road.
Correct.
The climate resilience bit. There's a lot of things for investment there. I mean, what we do with renewables, what we do with technology, deforestation, all these things. How are we leveraging Simon Steele being the head of the climate. How are we doing that? Is he talking to us? Are we, what are we doing? So down the road, you did say sustainable.
I did say
so
sustainable.
There are some things that are not sustainable I would mention.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge Brenda. Brenda seemed to be forgetting, I have short memory, that CARICOM has not functioned in two areas in particular. Transportation, which is a key thing for the region.
Yeah. Right.
How are we getting goods from Guyana to Grenada? Right? Guyana have always been the food basket and the greatest potential. We do nothing yet with transportation. The second thing is movement of people.
Right.
This country have not signed on. We have done, the other countries have signed on. What is the fear?
The like of Barbados,
And
the Belize, and others.
That's right. And as Colin indicated, do we have enough people? We don't have enough people in Grenada to support certain types of business. A coffee shop is one.
Correct.
I mean, people drink coffee and we don't even have the purchasing power of 20,000 people to entertainment is the next one. So we need those things, and these are key things that we have to fix before we can even think about going and start trade with Africa.
And the transportation here there's regional transportation, but one can argue not just the regional transportation. Local transportation.
Yeah.
After 7 p.m. I can't move. I mean, don't forget Guyana. I can't get around Grenada.
That's a national security issue. I mean, look what happened the other day when the buses decided they weren't going to move for a while. So I have always seen that as a national security issue, and it needs to be addressed. We keep been having these conversations over and over and over and over.
Okay, Allie?
The transportation is a national development issue because without transportation, then it affects your economy, especially the service sectors.
Right.
When hotel workers cannot get to Grenville or St. Patrick's after doing a night shift and have to be on the road hitching a lift in 2025, that's what we're talking about. But I want the construction sector taking off after Hurricane Beryl, so we need to contextualize these things, even a little before, but so we have that there. But I want to...
The six senses, intercontinental,
right.
But these coming to an end.
They coming to an end, and what next? And I want to move to the conversation because I think you highlighted the blue economy. And I was extremely pleased when I heard that the government was implementing the Ministry of Maritime Affairs. Right. When I was active in politics, I developed 2 papers on how do we should move to the Ministry of Maritime Affairs. In those days, blue economy was not known in our lexicon as yet. But 1 year on, I have not seen no significant or no serious shift with regards to developing that Ministry of Maritime Affairs. And I will say to you that, ask yourself, what is the economically, what is the biggest economic maritime activity on the island? And that is shipping. So the government now have to ask themselves, what is it are we going to do with the Grenada Port Authority, which is now still saddled in the Ministry of Finance, because it generates a revenue. There's always been that when I raised the subject at that time, maybe 15 years ago. Well, how would the Minister of Finance, why would a Minister of Finance want to give up the Grenada Ports Authority? After all, the money is still coming into the coffers of the country, so to me it's not, But what, strategically, if you move the Ministry of, the Grenada Ports Authority to under the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, then you seriously start addressing maritime issues, so that IMO regulations and our...
Interject there, Allie, and suggest another thing for you.
Yeah.
And a paper was done years ago that the ports of entry in Grenada, Airport Authority and Port Authority, need to move under one umbrella and structure in the maritime.
Right.
I just add in that as a further
in fact, in some
development.
In some governments, Port Authority is a ministry by itself, both port and seaport. So that the conversation about the port, so one, we have whether it goes into maritime affairs and so on. Secondly, that port that we have there has been there before independence, before 1974. As a schoolboy in GBSS, I've worked the port. Has it outlived its usefulness? Has it that space? How can we enhance shipping? How can we enhance revenue generation by thinking whether or not we need to move the port, or if it stays within the same space, can we do things? And I would like to get an Ambrose Philip and so called Felix, right, to flesh out these ideas.
Yeah.
But the issue of the Port Authority, the last significant thing that Dr. Gonzalez did was to open a new port in St. Vincent, the idea of container. So that's one issue. Then the second thing that happened as we set up the Ministry of Maritime Affairs is the fishing ban. Right? So that how can you, in 1 year, the second largest sector under this maritime space, the blue economy, is fishing, and in 1 year you announce a ban. And with the greatest of respect, my good friend's Minister Lennox Andrews has to take responsibility. He has to take it. There's no other way. He's minister there for 3 years and so on, and he has to put the structures in place. So, I'm not a politician now, so I could say anything I want. But so now I see the government has passed certain legislation and so on, but the legislation to ease the ban will come on the 1st of January.
Ban is in
the legislation is not sufficient. Right. There is the issue now of training our fisherfolk, our fishermen and so on. The implementation of logbooks and so on. Are we going to standardize the logbooks? The monitoring and implementation of logging, and that is simply the fishermen now have to register the fishes that they catch, the bycatch and so on. And the most, here is big talk about the mammals and so on. The two mammals that that is in our maritime space is whales and turtles. And turtles usually get ensnared in the same nets, right? And then the whales and so on, when the fellas throw the net out to catch the flying fish or bait to do the long line fishing and so on. Then the issue of the hooks, we use the J hooks and the need for the sucker hooks and so on. So there's a whole lot of education and serious grounding with the fishermen to bring them on par with what is required. And that is a $30 million per year industry that affects 3,000 to 5,000 jobs and families and rural communities and so on. So how can you be so flippant with this thing? You know what I mean? So that's a serious issue there. And going into 2026, that's a serious challenge. I am from a fishing community and so on. So these are some of the issues that really. So I hear all of the debate, the budget and so on. So there are two areas. What are we doing with the yachting sectors? Yeah, maritime sports, the billfish tournament, and so how can we engage the organizer? We have to take it. How can we engage the persons that engage in maritime sport, the billfishing tournament, the regattas, and so on? And we talk about regattas a little bit earlier on. So all of that and more with regards to the blue economy, right? And we talk about fishing and so on. The CMOS industry, the CMOS industry is a $1 million industry globally, and there is a serious need for that. So we talk about small industries, talk about so on. This is one of the most sustainable things that we have, and so on. I pay lip service to these things, frankly. I don't think, frankly, I have not heard the minister demonstrate any serious appreciation for the blue economy. It is just bantered about because it sounds good and it sounds visionary, but that no proper. I have not heard a serious articulation of a vision for the blue economy in this country. What I heard is a lot of talk and so on and so forth, because it is stylish now to talk about the blue economy, but after a year and so on, I ain't seen no real serious structure and no proper conversation on the blue economy.
Just your own thoughts on the economic ladder that we should be climbing in order for us to foster sustainable national development.
Well, very good question, and to concur with the persons on the panel, as we see, obviously construction is the main pillar in terms of the productive center, construction, tourism, agriculture, fishing. I believe I also support the other panels in terms of building the marine industry. It should be one ministry. I believe it should be one ministry because that's a very, very large sector. In just looking from our database in small islands development state, it's over like a $150 to $200 million industry. So it's very, very, very lucrative. But we have to what we have to do as a country is to come together as one people, and that is why I'm a big supporter of something called the PIOG, is the Planning Institute of Grenada. All the planners, all the intellects come under one umbrella and plan for the country for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. If we do that, it will, instead of having different ministries or different planning units, or we are too small to have so many different planning units. All planning should be done under the Planning Institute of Grenada. So I'm a big supporter of that. I also believe that it's time that we diversify, because construction is not sustainable, or tourism also is not sustainable, because tourism is susceptible to shocks, too many shocks, and there are other industries. For example, just the issue of data. We as a country, we do not believe in data or respect data. There are 32 major data producers in Grenada, but they are not linked together. So could you imagine if we have one, organized data portal where all the data in Grenada is housed by a certain ministry, so that we can make planning for it. You also mentioned Guyana. Last year, our firm did a consultancy in Guyana. We did the National Skills Audit of Guyana, and within this consultancy, very interested. One of the things that we worked on was that to get in all the data for the marine environment, all the data, for example, where are the fishing banks, where are the lobster bank, where are the shrimp bank. Take that data, log it geospatially, and put it in a national database so that persons can use it. And if we do that in Grenada, for example, if we know where all the snapper banks is, all of the lobster, the tuna, and we put it in a central database, we will have more technology and more science to be more productive. So I believe that we need to plan as a country. Remember, there is no government in Grenada. There is no NDC or NNP government. There is one government, and we have to make sure we plan for the country. And if we don't do that, we will realize that we'll just be what is called, the old people say, spinning top in mud, doing it over and over and over. And I think that's my contribution.
Thank you very much for that, Justin. I need to plan for the next commercial break, so we'll take a commercial break and then we'll come back. See you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome to Caribou, small in size, rich in spirit. As you step off the boat, you're greeted by smiling faces and warm island vibes. Your adventure begins here. Need a cozy place to stay? The Mermaid Beach Hotel has been a favorite for years. Waterfront views, clean comfort, and located in the town. In Bogles, the Roundhouse Cottages offers rustic charm with a touch of elegance. A peaceful hideaway surrounded by nature. Prefer something private? Dong Island Villas gives you space, sea breeze, and a home away from home feel. Wake up to the sound of waves and views that stretch for miles. We're ready to welcome you. When are you coming?
Distributed by Eco Blue Limited. Visit us on the Lansopine Main Road or call 405-4818.
Are you looking for a reliable, affordable, and customer-friendly pharmacy? Look no further than Hills and Valley Pharmacy, the nation's leading healthcare products and services provider. We are committed to serving you at convenient locations. Find an extensive and affordable selection of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and medical supplies at Church Street, Hillsborough, Carriacou, Jubilee Street, Grenville, St. Andrew, near the bus terminal, and Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George. Our committed team is always available to offer valuable assistance for managing your health and wellness. Discover the additional benefits of our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street and our Medcare Center on Grenville Street, where we provide in-house physiotherapy, massage therapy, doctor consultations, and eye care services. Our commitment is to satisfy all your healthcare needs, including competitive prices, loyalty rewards, and special discounts for seniors. Contact us at 435-6904 and WhatsApp 535-4734. Choose Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Remember, your health is our business.
You've asked for it and we've delivered. Shop and Save Supermarket at Victoria Street, Grenville, your new one-stop shop for all your grocery and household needs. Come shop and save on dry goods, fruit and vegetable. We're your ultimate meat market and supplier of household appliances. Our addition of a deli for hot meals and snacks makes us your ultimate one-stop shop. Remember, we're the place to shop and save. Come check us out today, Victoria Street, Grenville, St. Andrew.
Viewers and listeners, we're talking Grenada, we're talking 2025, and we can do some projections to 2026. We'll give you the opportunity to weigh in, 440-1252, that's the number, if you want to share your views on this discussion. Allie, we saw Grenada trending, it was said, in terms of our music, our carnival, our culture. And we have our caller. So let's take our first caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Good evening to the host and to the guests. Very nice, interesting conversation, but it's all deja vu, been there already. These are the things we have to discuss in a constituent assembly that could help us to chart the course for the future of the country, everybody. So let's get it going. But I want to ask Mr. Gill a question. Mr. Gill, sir. In July of this year, you supported a bill. Well, a discussion of the bills presented to the Parliament to deal with changes to the Constitution. The thesis put forward by the legal luminaries, and you fully supported, was that you could separate easily Schedule 3 from Article or Section 111 of the Constitution, sir. I want you to remember. And it became law. So now we're not swearing to His Majesty the King, but to Grenada. But the question is this, can you tell us what a schedule is? And I'd rather believe you me for the to convince the Grenadian people that you give this according to the glossary of the United Kingdom Parliament, whose laws upon which we depend. And to prove to the people of the country that it is in fact legitimate, legal, licit to separate a schedule from a statute or a contract, Please help us so that the people can see that in fact that these two laws that were passed should be abrogated immediately. I trust that my question is understood, sir. Have a nice evening, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll leave that question for when next Dr. Francis Alexis Arogos Ferguson KC here. But yeah, I support and I agree with the government with regards to changing the plea to swear allegiance to Grenada. And I make no apologies for that, sir. I think it's the right direction. In fact, I need the government now to go further and to get rid of the king as head of state and to give us our first president or chief or whatever name we may choose to have as our head of state. So I am one of the persons that believe that all of the legacies of colonialism and the trappings that are still with us, that we sever all ties and complete our independence. And I make no apologies for that.
All right, we have another caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Good night. We talk about the fish ban, but I'm not hearing about the soursop and the effect of that on our farmers. So that soursop business would go under. We need to talk about that.
Okay.
Well, I could answer that.
Go ahead.
From a marketing board point of view, marketing board is entrusted with development of the soursop, and what happens with the soursop because of this access we got to the U.S. market without very little challenge. It can go under because marketing board is faltering as it ought to be.
Is marketing board functioning at all?
Well,
or faltering just a euphemism for something I ain't working?
Well, no, marketing board could work. It has to be restructured, and
of
I
course,
think that's what they're trying to do. But anyway, I have my own opinion on what has been said. But to answer the caller's question, if we don't address the issue with what is happening with soursop. Soursop now is basically controlled by one person, buying from everybody else. And that should be under the umbrella of marketing board, and the farmers should be given the access and given what needs to be done in order to do it. So yes, it can go into demise if we don't get marketing board up and functioning as it ought to.
All right, we have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Funds that government funds that is being a lot of funds that is being used another way, and so on, and you are learned people seems to be not saying anything about that. Can you give us some update or tell us why is that we are not seeing? We have the integrity in public life. Group, what they call them, are they not seen into those things? Allegations have been made. Nobody seems to be answering question concerning them. Huh?
Okay, I'm sorry, caller. I think we missed the first
I think it's
part
important that you all let us know. We can't just hear those things and no interview into it, no investigation into it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but we missed the first part of the caller's contribution, and hence we are unsure as to who he was pointing towards with the need for the Integrity Commission to step in, etc. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Do we have another caller online? So go ahead, caller. Caller, please go ahead.
Pleasant good evening to you, Colin, and the rest of the panel. Very interesting topic. However, I haven't heard anything about the yachting industry. Any special efforts or any programs will be put in place to capture and what's happening within the yachting industry. This is just my contribution.
All right, thank you very much. And I believe, Arley, when you started speaking about maritime affairs, you did mention yachting as well.
Yes, because I'm saying that is a significant part of the blue economy and the maritime industry. And I'm not satisfied that we are putting structures in place to really and truly harvest the rewards from the yachting sector.
So we're both saying that we have mega yachts, but we have no one trained to address the mega yachts, to provision the mega yachts, to service the mega yachts,
right.
Anything of that
nature. So we're talking about employment, and these are prime employment opportunities with top dollar, top salaries in terms of servicing the yachts and so on.
Right.
So the maintenance of the yacht, the providing of the services of the yachts. Grenada share the Grenadines, for instance, with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And one of the things that when we were in government, we started to speak with St. Vincent on is to have a common yachting zone, so that when you clear immigration and customs in St. Vincent or Grenada, then you move right through the Grenadines and so on. All right. And so then you also you have yachts all over the island, all different ports and so on. You see them dotted across the lines. How do we monitor and enforce waste management and so on and so forth,
that's critically
and national security and so forth. Then if you have a serious yachting sector, then you have to look at security and so on, and your Coast Guard. You have 2 choppers there that really and truly maybe just designed to run down two fishing boat with weed.
We have another call online, so let's take the call line and come back. Good evening, caller. Welcome. All right, we lost our caller.
You see of search and rescue and so on. You know, if you develop in a maritime space, you must have capacity.
As a training in our schools.
Right.
And this is a highly lucrative area.
Right. Well, you even see on the Osprey how many Filipinos that are employed, right? And I heard
I'm going about the BVI and I'm seeing Grenadian captains in the BVI.
The Dominican, St. Lucia, and St. Martin over.
In St. Bart's.
Yeah.
You know, all these areas in Nice, France.
We don't talk about it as a career in our school.
So I heard the minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs speaking about some maritime school in Carriacou, and I thought, you know, that is one of the things that I believe we had in our NDC manifesto many moons ago, and it would be good to see the fruition of that, frankly, you know, because so that
we have another caller, so let's not lose that caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Good afternoon to the panel.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to throw that little idea. One of the things I find in Grenada here, anytime someone come up with an idea or someone try to look at something that may be able to happen, you always find that can happen. Everything can happen. So what is this problem with it can happen? It could happen. We have to try it. You cannot try everything at the same time, but you could try them one by one. Look at this situation I see, something, maybe we could try it for 1 year and see if it could work. The bus situation where you cannot get people to at night or but late in the night. Look at it. Grenada, we can try to run our country at a two-shift system. Just try it. We have a population that operating from 8 to 4. Why can't we get in some people that come in from the shift changing at 4 o'clock and going till 10 o'clock? Because every Grenadian goes to bed at 12, most of us. So then you'll have buses running from that to reach up to that shift all up to 1 in the morning. Right. For instance, I have a bus. I bought a new bus. I have it running on the road. I drive in it on the road, right? The day shift, like now we operate it now. I will drive my bus from 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock in the night. As the condition is now, would I give a guy that bus to drive to go and try to make a little hustle? It would not be possible, because that guy gonna go and take that bus and run some woman in the night or do some stupidness, foolishness, and mash up in my bus. But I need my bus in the morning to make the money. Are we going? When I wake up in the morning, my bus is wrap up around a lamp pole.
Yeah, thank you very much, caller.
And losing money.
Thank you very much. Certainly got that. And we mentioned the transportation sector. I mean, I've mentioned before, I am very comfortable if the government, through a relationship, let's say, with the government of China, we bring in 10 or 15 big buses, and as a national transportation service, we deal with the night.
I think
so if the private owners want to work from 8 to 4, that's fine. National transportation service takes place there.
I think the Prime Minister announced that they were getting some EVs. I'm not sure if it was from China or one of those countries, that I believe they want to augment alongside the private bus owners. And he said if they could get a cooperative within the private bus owners to look at it as well and run these buses, but the end game must be that our people must be able to move internally up to 12-1, as we see in Barbados and in Trinidad and so on, these economies, how important the transport sector is for business and employment. You understand? So
it's just as the caller said, it goes to our culture and work ethic. And you know, for a long time we've been going over this with the buses. Yes, EVs, China's been giving away EVs. Jamaica got their share, Barbados got their share. I think Trinidad, as part of their $93 million package, they're getting EVs as well. Why not us? You know, so it has to come to at some point. I really like the cooperative idea. I like that, but the busmen have to want it. Else it goes right back to the caller and say, well, that's how we are accustomed. We've been running so long. All they want to take bread from our mouth, yada, yada, yada.
And this is where I'm going. We're running at a time because there shouldn't be a competition.
Absolutely.
If you want to park up at 7, park up at 7.
Yeah.
But people need to move.
But the work ethic, Brenda mentioned work ethic.
Yeah.
We cannot get away from the fact that if we don't change our work ethic and how we decide to be productive within ourselves, then we ain't going to move nowhere fast. Because the average Grenadian needs to understand, and we've seen it in every sector, the work ethic issue and the shortage of labor. So we need to, if I am of the view, we need 20,000 more people. I've always said this. We do it in a structured way, and we bring in professionals.
I actually believe 40,000 because I don't believe, unless we have 150,000 people in Grenada, we're not making sense.
I agree with you, Colin, and that is where we need to go and look at it in a very structured way. Everywhere have immigration policies that the United States was built on immigration labor.
Canada has a beautiful system as to who they target for migration.
Why can't we do it?
We're dreaming. We're having these big dreams. We have the capacity. We have the potential. We have the talent. What is the issue? It's behavioral. It's just we just need to make that shift, and we have to. It has to start somewhere.
You realize that, and hence, so you're joining me in my impatience. I want to see action and not tokenism.
I'm impatient about that.
Okay,
I'm impatient about that.
Well, I always talk about public transportation. I say I go to school on NTS.
Yes.
So I know there's no magic.
Correct.
You know, I mean, I believe that we have over time stepped a few steps backwards, and we are post students of history, frankly. The NTS PTS service initiated by the government, by the revolution.
Public transportation preceded the revolution. So let me just not have you go there.
Well, I tell you, PTS, NTS, all you want to change the name, but it offered us solutions. And you know, I bleed, you know, for persons up on the West Coast, right up to Sutters and so on after 4 o'clock. I mean, it's and to me, and that the poor public transportation system then creates another issue of the private vehicles, because you say no, we have so much vehicles on the road and you can't. Well, yeah, people gotta get a private vehicles because they cannot rely on public transportation. So you know, it's a catch-20, and I don't believe a solution is beyond us. That, you know, just as what the caller was saying earlier on, you know, a solution on public transportation cannot be beyond us. If in 2025, right, we landing men on the moon every month, and you have private companies and so on landing men on the moon, to move people from St. George's to Sutters, my brother, cannot be so difficult.
Thank you very much.
I challenge the government, and I challenge the Prime Minister, who is also Minister of Transportation, to solve that problem forthwith. It cannot be I take, you know, serious, I mean, in offense to this problem being so.
Let's challenge about
listen, yeah, but the bus association, the private sector, is only so much you could do with them, because you can't tell a man how to run the bus. The National Transportation. You hear the partner say he ain't giving no man the bus to run in the night to go and run no man. Right? I mean, that's. And he shouldn't. Yeah. So that's another issue. But I believe that a solution to solve the transportation issue cannot be that daunting.
It's time for us to. Its time has almost elapsed. So, Justin, I want you to be able to provide us with some closing comments. It can be on the economy, it can be on anything that you'd want to weigh in on, but your closing comments, as well as if you have some projections or wish lists for 2026.
Right. Yes. So, what I thank you again. I would. My wish list is that, in light of what everyone is saying, I believe that the government, the transportation issue should be a problem. This transportation issue the government should be responsible for it, not necessarily the private sector, but we need public transportation. So that's an issue. The main challenge we have, again, in terms of skills, we do not have enough skilled people in Grenada. We have a very high skill gap. So therefore, and also we do not have enough people in Grenada. I think I've written about, we need about 40,000 people. I think I first got that idea from someone by the name of Ambrose Phillip. And when I kind of, delve into it, we really need more than 40,000. We need to bring in some of the Venezuelans right away, because they have in the region they have their best skills, and it's very cheap. So also we need what is called to develop the National Training Authority, the Grenada National Training Authority. All skills training in the country, all skills training should be under the National Training Agency and not necessarily the Ministry of Education. So it has been done for 30 years. So hard trust. Jamaica produces the largest cadre of skilled workers in the Caribbean. Brazil, Colombia, all of these countries have national training agency. So the ministry, so the training of skilled workers should be subletted to the National Training Agency. We need to make the National Training Agency a statutory body, so that they would be able to take skills training, because we don't have enough skills. I also want to say in terms of my prediction in 2026, I'm predicting that elections will be held in 2026. I think it will be a very, very dynamic time. We'll have 3 political parties at least vying for competition, and I just believe that we are now in very exciting times, because now we have data. Everything is recorded, and now we have the opportunity to make Grenada a better place. Okay. So once again, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak on the show tonight.
Chris,
thank you.
Closing comments, and if you want to do some projections to 2026, you're certainly free to do that. You can work in, because some of us believe that elections will be called after SOD turning for Project Polaris. We didn't speak of Project Polaris tonight, so you can work that into the conversation if you decide.
I would want to start by saying that, the biggest elephant in the room for me in our country right now is the labor issue, and how we address that from a skills point of view and from a volume point of view. And I think we all understand the benefits. I was disappointed to see that we didn't take part in the movement of people, part of it, and what has not happened there, and the concerns. I wouldn't do like Justin and predict that we're going to have an election in 2026. But I believe it's interesting times, and probably Project Polaris from a transformative point of view for this government, because I don't believe, and I can't point out any project that has been transformative in my view as to how they came into government and on this thing of transformation. So I see there is room, there is probably concern politically on that front. On the economic front, I think we have done a good job to keep the economy stable and moving. We don't have major hiccups. There's no new taxes, there's no new tax frameworks. That gives good predictability as we move forward in 2026. So that is a positive thing. And of course, the major issue again is implementation. And the implementation comes back to capacity issues. Do we have the equipment? Do we have the people? Do we have the skills? To talk about what Justin talked about to the training agency, I was involved in a conference earlier on last month or so, TVET, and there is a serious move by the government and through Ministry of Education to get the skills gap closed to some degree by moving TVET courses into secondary schools and having students, do a skill or learn a skill, which is a positive thing, because we need that in our society to move it ahead. So those would be my closing comments. And I think we didn't mention crime, but I think the RGPF have done an excellent and superb job in 2025 to keep our country safe with all the international challenges and all the war potential that in our zone of peace is gearing up, and which we didn't get time to talk about. So I think they have done an excellent job, and I give kudos to them, because I know they're challenged with resources from various types, and I really want to say a special word to the men and women of our RGPF that keep us safe.
Okay. And just for the record, we do have a national training agency that's responsible for skills, but their mandate is one of certification. as opposed to the actual training. And what I got from Justin was we need a training agency, not an accreditation agency, which is what our GNTA primarily serves as opposed to being on the ground doing the training of the skills. Allie, your closing comments, your predictions, and if you want to talk about radar and bases, you can certainly feel free to do so, as we do have some remaining tensions in our region, Venezuela, Trinidad, Grenada. We had a visit last week, Wednesday, that was unannounced by the U.S. State Department, and I wonder what that visit was really all about.
Unfortunately, you don't have much time for us to expand on that subject, but I would want to again urge, as convener of the Grenada Coalition of Zone of Peace, for us to maintain the zone of peace. Just today, it was made public that a JetBlue flight leaving Curacao came within touching distance or close distance to one of the U.S. plane, refueling plane, and so on and so forth. And the militarization of the Caribbean is something that we are not used to, is unheard of, and it is creating tremendous instability. We are making headlines for the wrong reasons, and really and truly it is really a worrying moment for us here in the Caribbean. I am glad that and satisfied that the government have not, or the government of Grenada have not answered positively to the request to put the radar at the Morris Bishop International Airport. It seems as though that radar was moved to Tobago. So really and truly we could have done without that. I don't agree with some military analysts and so on that that this radar is needed or necessary for drug interdiction and fighting and so. But just to leave you with maybe two thought-provoking, if not controversial, thoughts, because I think that we need to have more robust discussion on issues of national development. And I would like to say to party political supporters that we need to discuss ideas and policies rather than simply attacking person's personality and so on and so forth. I think, a society really and truly cannot grow and mature like that. And Project Polaris, the idea to build a state-of-the-art hospital, that must be applauded. In the same breath, we have to remember that primary health care comes first. So you need dentists and doctors and x-ray machines in Carriacou Hospital and so on. That you need more than one medical doctor to service the health center in Goa, which really and truly should be a polyclinic. And the employment of health professionals across the country, doctors, nurses, and other technical persons is extremely important. So while we go to build mega million hospitals and so on, but the service and so that is provided to ordinary Grenadians of all walks of life, that needs to be seriously addressed and so on. And just to say that I think that the location of that Project Polaris, in my respectful view, Project Polaris or any state-of-the-art hospital, in my respectful view, should be in St. Andrews. I think that there's been a overdevelopment or a lot of concentration in the south of the island, which we don't have time to expand on it now, but I believe that we're missing a serious developmental opportunity not to make that strategic investment, which really and truly will transform St. Andrews. That side of the island might not having that facility there if we're really going to have it. And secondly, I also think that putting a swimming pool, the national swimming pool at the stadium grounds.
25-meter swimming pool.
25 meter.
When it should be 50.
25-meter swimming pool at the grounds of the national stadium is a bad idea.
Yes.
Why? Because of the gravel?
It's more than that. One, we need to put the structures in place for cricket. And I tell you what's happening now. We need an indoor cricketing nets with different playing pitches curated for spin bowling, Asian condition, fast bowling, and different so on and so forth. So I believe that the stadium grounds should be really and truly developed for the structure of cricket. We lighten the stadium, which is good. Every modern facility now for cricket need lights, so you get the IPL, the T20 games, and if we go so well, we may even attract a franchise to be based in Grenada. But I believe the structure of West Indies cricket, and you know, we're not thinking, you know, we always talk about, I'm a cricket fan, but I believe that the grounds of the national stadium outside of the cricket facility there should really be, we put a indoor cricket nets curated with different pitches and so on and so forth. And I believe that we're looking at we need a national aquatic center, frankly, but I believe in the meantime and so on that such a facility we should consider the Bushiju area and so on. We need to spread the development across the country, and that's why I said we need to have more strategic thinking and strategic development outlook. You know, it's one thing to say let's do this, but we must think, where do we do this? Where you know, we bring in all the water we bring in the water all the way from Concord down to Ponceline, and now we're getting the water to put the swimming pool from Concord again, and by the way, we need the roads in to go up Concord Waterfall. We need the road to be asphalted and fixed and so on and so forth. I'm a St. John's man, and that's one of the place I go for solace.
We need a basketball indoor facility in Guam.
Of course. Well, Guam is the place where a lot of basketball still play. I see a lot of old fellas my age playing competitive basketball. I usually keep the ambulance number close by.
All right. Thank you for those comments. I mean, it almost reminded me when we built the bus terminal, we couldn't even accommodate the number of buses we had at the time. So it is surprising, and Chris reinforced that we're building the swimming pool and we're going back to a 25-meter as opposed to the Olympic size.
Serious strategic thinking, and you know, I don't know.
As per usual, the lady has the last comment.
Just to start off where Chris was giving the positive outlook on the economy, I'd just like to be a little more cautious in that we have some labor tensions currently with us. Let's hope those get sorted soon. And based on what's happening around us in the region, as we look out, we really do not know, and we hope that that is not going to impact us, you know, going forward. Again, I really would like to see more education, more done in the area of climate resilience and so on. Yeah, we have some feathers in the cap and so, but there's more that we need to do. I also believe in the areas of renewables, technology, and all of that, we have some groundbreaking we can do for sustainable employment, especially youth employment, and we need to look at that. A failure, I would give it a failure of the government this year, is that they have not made themselves accessible enough to the local press corps with communication. I find that they are always on the back foot with certain major breaking items. I guess sometimes it's in probably to control the narrative or whatever, but you control the narrative by coming forward first, not after. You know, and one of the effective things that the NNP had was the post-cabinet press brief. Because on Tuesday morning, after cabinet on Monday, on Tuesday morning, 2 or 3 ministers came out and they basically gave you what was discussed, where we're heading. And from Tuesday to the next Monday, it controlled a news cycle. So talk about controlling the narrative. So we need to do that. National addresses. Yeah, we need some more of that as well, especially on big topic ideas. You know, people look at a lot of things happen in Parliament, but who sometimes is the general population queued into Parliament and everything that's happening there? So there are times that, you know, the Prime Minister just needs to come out, look us in the face, have a conversation. These are the plans. Here's what I want to do. This is the impact, and just talk to the people. He's a great communicator, easy on the eye. People like him, do it. Use your strengths to move forward. I think the access of the government has been really, and they need to do better. And we don't have to be defensive. Just let's talk. Let's just have conversations. Too many clenched fists and everybody's, you know, I don't know if that's a testosterone thing.
I thank you.
And you see how they get in, you'll get antsy, right? And Spice Mass, it was a great year. It was fantastic. Kudos to all who made it happen. I mean, our creatives, the orange economy, we're trending correct. We're trending right. Carriacou should have really been a feather in our cap. I mean, our airport was open, our port was open, our hospital was fine. I just think we needed to make Carriacou, focusing on Carriacou. Second, public servants up there, to just hone in on Carriacou. So I hope in this year coming, we can do that, because we're kind of behind.
Brenda,
sorry.
Allie, Gill, Chris Allie, and Justin Pierre. I thank you all so very much for contributing to this year-ending conversation on. Sorry?
You're predicting an election in 2026?
I am saying that I anticipate, post the turning of the sod for Project Polaris, we'd expect the bell to ring. But as we close off, let me just wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous and productive 2026. You would notice that there is some agitation, there's some impatience in my voice and my attitude. Yes, I want us to move from ideas to implementation. Let us do for Grenada. Let us do what is right for Grenada. And on things that we agree on, let's just do it. So I want to see in 2026 a national health insurance. Let's just do the rebounding, restructuring of our MNIB to protect things like our soursoups. Let's just do, please. And let us stop talking and let's stop the tokenism. Let's build a platform that can truly lead to sustainable development. Let us inculcate Grenadianism in ourselves and then in our children, so that we can build, advance, and achieve. I wish you all a safe ending to 2025, prosperous 2026. Look forward to seeing you in the new year. Take good care.